again can get a sense of the vastness and variety of these books. The archive is mostly for the core of the genre, and we've got some on the periphery for explanatory purposes. They're published by all manner of publishers, families, academic, commercial, etc. A good example of an academically published core book you see in the top left here is titled Freedom Road, an American family saga from Jamestown to World War. This book has a long timeline dating back to the 1400s, and it's published in 2019. While the stories of this particular book and many other Black genealogies date back to the 15th through the 18th centuries, most of the ancestral heroes in our books are from what I call the postbellum jubilee. That's the period from 1865 to 1915, bookended by the end of the Civil War and Booker T. Washington's death. Again, this is the period where most of the heroes in our books come from. And that postbellum jubilee, of course, it overlays the Reconstruction era of the 1870s and 80s and the Gilded Age, roughly 1870 to as late as World War I. A good example of a family authored small press book you see in the top left corner here is Live, Labor, Love, the history of a Northern family, 1700 to 1900. This book is 96 pages long and it is published in 2007. A good example of a commercially published book you can see in the top left corner here is The Washingtons of Wessington Plantation, Stories of My Family's Journey to Freedom. So many of the books are plantation oriented, and this is a good example of that, and also of multiple stories at once, a community genealogy as well as a plantation genealogy, and this one was published in 2010. There are books that significantly incorporate African and Caribbean countries. One that is close to its Caribbean roots, you can see in the top left corner here, is Carolina Footprints along the African American Sasporas Schweitzer Family Trail, published in 2022. There are some Black genealogies written by outsiders and about famous families. A good example of both of those you see in the top left corner here is about the Obamas, published in 2011. There are Black genealogies that focus on the mixes of races in families. There are some that focus specifically on mixing with European ancestry, some with Native American ancestry, and a good example of a family story that includes Native ancestry you see in the top left corner here is Osage and Settler, reconstructing shared history through an Oklahoma family archive. This was published in 2015. And we have big, pretty coffee table books, as well as books for young people. And we see a good example of both of those in the top left corner here with Grandma Lois Remembers. We have multiple versions and formats of the same book. You can see in the top left two spots here, The Grace of Silence is in multiple versions. And we have books with content that some people find disturbing. The objections could be triggered by gruesome violence, especially racial violence, or any number of unsettling depictions. Chances of objectionable content could be heightened when an outsider does the family history. An American family, the Shakurs, and the nation they created that we see in the top left here is one of those books done by an outsider that is full of mayhem. You have to be ready to stomach. I'm just making the point that they're not all warm and fuzzy family stories. Some include really, really, really ugly stuff. The disturbing material shows up sometimes in the form of descendants learning of kindnesses that their Black ancestors performed for white people. This triggers some people. The disturbing information can be from sometimes when white authors find their Black slave-holding ancestors, the Black descendants of their white slave-holding ancestors and cousins from them. There's just an infinite variety of disturbing material that can be included. Again, we talked about unexpected racial ancestry or parentage, defamatory inaccuracies, secrets and personally intimate stories, and generic and non-specific information passed off as germane to a particular family. All of those are the kinds of things that sometimes happen. And this idea of passing off general information as if it's specific to your family happens with these books that are named for a family. So speaking of books named for a family or focusing on a last name, here in the top left we see The Crenshaws of Kentucky. This book, published by Heritage Publishers in 2019, is an example of the important early and still prevalent strain among Black genealogies of focusing on one last name. One last name.
Okay, I got it.
Genealogy books that focus on one last name are the forte of Frances Holloway Wynne, who is best known for the book The Holloways of the South. I throw in a shout out here to Frances Holloway Wynne because she set us all an example when she bequeathed OGS more than $83,000 in 2010 for the publication of educational and genealogical materials. We all can follow her example. While at last report the gift hadn't been used for its intended purpose, it still is a wonderful model for us all to follow. Also in the Black genealogy book are all states and all national regions, including the DMV. In the top left here, we see These Low Grounds, a novel of 4 generations, which is a 1937 fictionalized story of an African-American family on Maryland's eastern shore. Summarizing the collection of Black genealogy books, they date back in core form to 1930. They're published by families and independent presses, as well as commercial and academic presses. And the formats and subgenres of these books are varied, including young adult, narrative, memoirs, autobiographies, biographies, etc. And it does happen that these books sometimes contain information that the people depicted in the stories or their descendants find objectionable, even actionable in court. So far, the HBCUHeritageHome.com has archived 650 families' books of the estimated 1,000 out there. As important as it is to collect Black genealogies for analysis and exhibition, it's even more important for the families to engage with these books celebrate them.